How's it going, everybody? My name is Jim, and welcome to FSD Driver. Today, we are doing a long drive to the airport and back. This is the version 12.3.6. No, I am not the 10 percenters online who got the new 12.4.1.2.3.4 versions. That is only released to 10% of the fleet. I have no idea how you get it or you become one of those members. I've heard mixed stories of you need to be a subscriber. No, you don't. You need to be a lifelong. You had to have your car this long. You have to be friends with somebody. You have to Elon's. There are so many different things to get the 12.4.3 version, and I don't have it for whatever reason. I've been waiting a month. Tesla, give it to me. I will be very critical of your software. I do drive FSD 98% of my time. I record almost all of my drives. I only put the ones that I deem up online so people can see this in the public, like how well it actually does drive, when we get safety critical interventions, and what I think could be done in the future to prevent them, or some things that could get worked on. Now, I just want to let everybody know again, we are on 12.3.6. The highway stack has not been updated. There is a lot of highway driving in this actual video. There are two critical safety interventions in this video. And then the other thing is we constantly get this goofiness that the car will do once in a while. And so what I do in my videos is I basically will slow down the footage when the car does something goofy, or when we get a safety critical intervention, or even if we have an intervention at all where I need to step on the accelerator or anything like that, we will slow down the footage. Other than that, we usually go to 4 times the speed or 8 times the speed if the car is behaving like it actually should be behaving, like a normal driver. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start speeding up this footage, and then we will slow it down when we get to our next intervention. Quick note, today seems like a weird day for the navigation data. All the speed limits don't seem to match up with what they actually are on the highway. You'll see this more towards the end of the video. Most of the highways in my area are 60 to 65 miles an hour, but for some reason the car thinks it needs to go 55. We are approaching our first weird thing. We're going 43 miles an hour. This traffic light ends up turning yellow, and our car decides rather than going through it, it would just kind of slam and do a very hard stop. Now, everything in my back seat slid off of the seat, went forward. My laptop came crashing down. My son screamed at me. He's along for the ride in the back seat, and he was like, "Dad, why did you stop so hard?" So this is something I wish they would fix, but then the car continues driving as normal. Coming up on our second goofiness of the vehicle, we need to turn right, but not for a very long time. But the car decides to get into the right turn lane for a different turn, and then just blows through this intersection. And so, if there was a cop behind me, probably would have gotten pulled over for doing that. But do you see how far we actually have to make our turn? It's almost 2 city blocks away to make this turn, but for some reason it decided it needed to be in the right hand turn lane back an intersection. Not really sure why, but again, another goofy thing that the car does sometimes. Just wanted to let you guys know there was a cut in my footage right there because my camera died for some reason, and then I clicked it back on. I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. All right, guys. So we are now entering in construction zone. This area is heavily under construction. There's nothing we can do about it. People who are flying in from the airport, they don't even know this is going on because they're not from this state. And you have to tell me and look me in the eye and say the Robotaxi will know how to navigate all of this stuff. It happens 24/7. Road construction never ends. It will be going on forever and always. So those are the facts of life. They are always building, expanding, updating, resurfacing. And so technically what we're doing is we're on the wrong side of the highway because the other side is under construction, and they basically have divvied everything up into these two concrete barriers between both of the lanes. And there's two lanes running in both directions, east and west, west and east. And so the lines don't always match up, and we're actually on two different surfaces. I'm right here on asphalt and I'm on concrete. Now we're coming up on our turn that is supposed to be up here. And for some reason, the car, instead of just going straight like the sign says, it decides to take the right hand turn. And it's basically leading us away from where we're supposed to be going. Even if you go up ahead, our off ramp is available. It's not under construction. There is no detour, basically. And so the car is just taking us on a longer path. And eventually it ends up failing. And I have my first safety critical intervention and have to take over. And then we just basically cut the video from there. Now, one thing I wanted to say is navigation data. This is my opinion. Navigation data is what's deeming where the car is going, but it's not getting updated fast enough. It's not getting updated in real time. Even sometimes in traffic reports, I'll go where it says, oh, there's no traffic, and then I'll be stuck in traffic. I do have save us time if it's faster than 15 minutes. But again, right here, the car handles everything exceptionally well, but for some reason, it's taking an exit that it shouldn't take. Even if the road wasn't under construction, it should never be taking this exit because this is actually leading in the opposite direction. And so it's really weird that the car did this. Again, I think it's the road construction and the lines on the road. It just really doesn't know what to do. Also, later on in the video, I'll explain this again. The navigation data deems where the car is going to drive and how it drives. And what I mean by this is the car will slow down because it thinks it needs to go the speed of the road you're going to be on. But if you miss it and you're on the highway, you need to maintain your speed of like 70 or 65 miles an hour, but your car will actually start to slow down. I'm sure other people have witnessed this. We'll cover it again at the end of this video where it happens again, and I basically have to assist the car. Now we're coming up on my first safety critical intervention. As you can see, the road, it's full of construction. The lines don't match up. We're crossing over multiple lines, and then the car starts to freak out. So the car's still driving by itself. It's telling me to take control of the wheel. I do. And then all of a sudden, it gives me the safety critical intervention. Now, I am actually moving my yoke quite a bit, but still, the car just doesn't seem to know what to do. And honestly, it's really kind of scary because there are cones just randomly out here on the road. It seems like they should have had bigger cones or something. They don't even show up on the actual screen. Now, what we try to do is we try to put the car back into FSD, but it says basically that it won't go into it. And I believe it's because we had that safety critical intervention. And that's the weird thing about this is even sometimes when I move on my yoke, I have to really jam on it to get out or tap my brakes to basically get out of FSD, and it will still give me a strike. So I believe I get a strike there. I find out later when I get home, like, hey, I have 2 strikes left. Well, I have 2 strikes in this video, but they're technically safety critical interventions, and I'm face forward the entire time. I'm looking out. I'm not looking at a phone. I'm not doing anything else. But again, the car decides that, hey, it's had enough because it can't handle the road construction. I've turned my FSD back on and off here because the car wants me to take a U-turn, but the area where it wants me to take a U-turn, there is a sign there that says do not enter. There's also a bunch of signs on the right side of the road that say no U-turn and no parking because we're on the side of an airport and they do not want anybody doing that because it's a security risk. So I end up turning it back on after we pass the road, and this basically tries to take us to our destination. However, this is a dead end road, but the maps don't show that. So again, this tells me that the navigation data is not updated. It also had signage back there that said this road is closed through traffic, which means you can only come one direction on the road, and that is west to east, not east to west. So what we decide to do is to pull into this parking lot. You'll notice that we don't have any option to auto park in here because it's a one way and everything is slanted. And so me and my son spend, I don't know, a few minutes here watching some airplanes take off. And then we get back onto our drive home. Now, our drive home, I have no idea why it took the way it took, but it must have thought it was faster. And so we're just going to speed up. And again, we will have another safety critical intervention, but I will speed up the footage until the car starts doing some goofy things, or you guys can actually see where we have the safety critical intervention. Gonna give some props here to FSD because the car started slowing down and I was like, why are you slowing down? And it wasn't until I turned my head and saw, oh, if I would have sped up, I think I would have hit that Subaru and that silver car. So it actually, again, I know FSD works, it sees more than I'm seeing. And for that, I'm really thankful that it slowed me down and basically stopped me here. Because if I was just driving normally and manual, I definitely would have either hit that guy or cut them off. So there are good things with FSD, and that is one of them. So if you haven't noticed, there's a lot of cars that are passing me. For some reason, the car thinks it's 55 on this road, but it's not. It's a highway. It's 60 to 65 miles an hour. There's actually a postage sign back a little ways that says 60 is your minimum or 55 is your minimum. And so what I had to do is I had to start cranking it up on my scroll wheel because honestly, everybody on this road is going about 70 miles an hour, and we want to stay with the flow of traffic so we don't have people blowing around us all the time. The guy behind me too, who's coming up on my left side, was kind of getting ticked off, and so he kind of looked at me weird. I know you can't see it in the video, but he definitely gave me a "what the hell are you doing going so slow?" And then these other two cars end up passing me, and so now I have to basically scroll on the wheel and get up to 65, and then I maintain this speed until we come up to our next safety critical intervention. Pay attention to my speedometer in this video. What's happening here is the car needs to get off of the off ramp, but we can't because that side of the highway is closed. So here's the off ramp start, and the speed starts to slow down, and there's a traffic jam on that side. But notice my speedometer. What's going to happen here is when we get to this other highway, which is 55, my car starts to dramatically, right now, starts to slow down to 49 in a 65-mile-an-hour road. Now, the reason it's doing this is because it thinks it is on the other highway going that speed limit. Even though it doesn't show that speed limit there, I know exactly why. It happens twice in this video. Now, what did it do back there? Well, it brake checked that guy, and so I'm actually stepping on the accelerator pedal to keep it going 64 miles an hour. Again, it's going to happen again. There is, I believe it's a silver Chevy that will pass me eventually when I move over into the right-hand lane. But the guy was like, "What the hell?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry." Like, I even waved my hand, like, "I am so sorry. The car's driving itself. It's brake checking you. I didn't mean to do that." But again, that's another intervention, and it could have caused an accident. He got pretty close to my vehicle going 70 miles an hour. And so, what we're going to do is we're going to speed up the footage, and then I'll show you the second one where it starts to slow down the speedometer and it starts to brake check the other person who's behind me. That didn't take very long. Again, look at the speedometer. We're going 65. We're coming up on an exit that should be open, and we would technically take that, but we can't. But what happens is the car starts to dramatically start to slow down again. Again, we're going 56 now, and then we're going 62, 63, 64. The reason we're going this speed is because I'm stepping on the accelerator pedal, because the car will do anything to get over to its turn lane that doesn't exist. I believe it's not really an FSD issue. I believe it is a mapping issue with the GPS. Once it crosses that bridge of where it's supposed to be, it shifts over into that speed limit, and that is a huge problem. We are about to hit our second safety critical intervention, and there it was. The car doesn't know what to do because of the lines on the road. They don't match up with what is actually going on with the car and the cones. And so we basically have to take over and go into manual there as well. Now, for the end of our drive here, I believe we drive quite a bit of ways to basically get off of this highway. Our exit is technically way back. We decide not to take the U-turn, but to take the back roads. And then at the end of the video, we miss another turn because the car just doesn't know what to do, and there's no road construction, and we're just going to speed up the video up into that point. So this is our last turn, and at the end of this turn, we basically end up trying to turn into a place that's not even mapped. We're actually supposed to be left of this place, but we make our turn, and then the car puts its blinker on, and it's like, I'm gonna take this road. And so we have to basically take over, and then we manually drive into our discount tire destination. And that's pretty much the end of this video. If you guys would subscribe, like, and I will continue to make FSD videos in the future.